navigate important career decisions, not when you're in your 20s, but when you're in your 30s, your 40s, and even later. Let's take a look at all of our stories today. What does it take to start all over again? How to go from a desk job to a dream job? Your 40s, could they be the new 20s? How to take that bold career step carefully. We're going to bring you the breakdown with two guests who've done it in their own lives.
Ever heard of education on wheels? Well, this classroom is on a bus and breaking the digital divide that exists in the country. When kids can't go and students can't go to the classroom, this classroom reaches them. A special report coming up.
And we take you all of the information of the Indian contingent as they're gearing up for the Olympics. Indian archers beginning their campaign today. You have 10,500 athletes gathered in Paris. They're representing 206 countries. We're going to bring you the entire breakdown.
Also, a lot of car and bike fun on the program today. Our current focus is the Nissan Generation X-Trail with India-specific features. We bring you a sneak peek.
And what's Janvi's advice for women? All about situationships. What are situationships and why does she call them a, quote, retarded concept? We'll take a little look at that in a bit. We'll have our advice, her advice and more relationship advice later on the show. Today we're taking a look at a topic that might make us relook the way we've come to see our lives. Have you ever felt stuck in a job? Or have you ever wondered, is it too late to pursue the dream I had as a teenager? Today we're diving deeper into the world of career changes in one's mid-30s and mid-40s.
So recently, a 2024 study by LinkedIn found out that a whopping 9 out of 10 Indian professionals were looking for a new job, with almost 8 out of them willing to explore new career paths altogether. But how does it actually go about pivoting industries, especially with in a new era where you can have, you probably come with no formal experience as well. And what about everyday realities like money, family, location, starting out all over again? Not that easy as it sounds.
Right, so we've got you two incredible guests. They've made massive career pivots from one industry to an entirely different one, and they're here to share their stories and show us how they did it. So sit back, relax. Hopefully you're going to get ready to get inspired. Let's go over to our first guest.
Or maybe not too inspired, but we'll see how that goes. Our first guest today is a vivacious trailblazer. Remember the iconic lines of the 90s Pepsi ad? Ye dil mange bor, or even the Y2K edition as you used to call it back then on oi bubbly, be my lover bubbly. Now those iconic lines are hers. But right at the peak of her career, she called it quits and took her first love full-time, which was writing. Now, if you've read fiction at all, you must have heard of her books like those pricey Thakur Girls or Bars or even Zoya Factor, which later became a movie itself. Now, enough of a tease. Let's welcome Anuja Chauhan on the program today and try and understand her story.
Anuja, good morning. You were the brains behind ad slogans like, as we just told our audiences, Oi Bubbly, Ye Dil Mange Mo. These are all slogans that are resonant with every Indian today. You've had this prolific advertising career. What made you want to switch?
Okay, so well, I say this very often, but I joined advertising because I wanted to write, and I left advertising because I wanted to write. So when I had just finished my economics, and I was young and starting out, and I had like a creative bent of mind. I enjoyed writing. So advertising seemed like a natural choice because it was economics, apply marketing, as well as some amount of creativity. So that mix kept me really, really happy for a long time. And I enjoyed my stint in advertising, and it was great fun. But there was a point where beyond a point, it gets repetitive. Secondly, it is an applied art. There's a product to sell. You're not just telling a random story about anything that you pluck out of the air. It's a very specific story, and the aim is always to sell a product. So it's limited kind of writing. It also becomes repetitive. Then there are so many factors. There's a client, there are movie stars, there are targets, there are budgets, and there's legal, who tells you what you can say, what you can't say. So the box is becoming smaller. And though I had a very shiny crayon box, it was a very shiny box of crayons. I had like, Virat Kohli and, Shah Rukh Khan and all these exciting people that I got to work with, and exciting directors that I got to work with. But what I could actually do with them was very limited. So I was being told that with these lovely crayons, you can draw one basic house and mountains. So it was very limiting. The other thing is that I liked writing. I did not enjoy sitting in a boardroom, having meetings, having a massive team that reported to me and that I was responsible for. By then, I had 3 children. I was like, I'm a mummy at home. Now they made me a mummy in office also, cannot deal. So to go back into that writing space, and it's always about creative control. I had very less creative control. And for me, creative control was the most important thing at that point. So I think I was coming up to 37. And I was panicking about the fact that my 40th birthday was approaching and what was going to be like the next padhav, as Amitabh Bachchan says in KBC. So for the next padhav, I thought I need to, take back creative control. That was the quest.
Right. Anuja, firstly, I have to say, great fan of your work. All your books are absolutely spectacular. They opened up the doors of Delhi, and how you even, sort of introduce it back in the day to so many of us over there. But I have to ask you, this massive career pivot that you made, you tell us that it came from a motive to write more, but was it one fine day waking up and saying, I have to do it now? Or was it in the works, like you said?
Very specific trigger. What happened is that I was shooting a very big Pepsi commercial with a massive budget, and we were shooting in Bandra Kurla. We had got the place for the weekend because we were shooting in a parking lot. So we had it on the weekend when there were no office goers. We were shooting the same script in North Indian languages and South Indian languages. So on the set that day, we had Shah Rukh Khan, Saif Ali Khan, Surya, and Madhavan, and Preeti Zinta. So we have 5 huge stars on our set. We have 2 days. There's a tight storyboard. And I had spent so much time agonizing over that script. I had a certain vision for it. I was so excited about it. But as we started shooting, I realized we were making compromises again and again and again. It's like, get them out. Okay, now get Surya and Maddie in. Okay, now we go back to these people. There's no time for retakes. Let's get to the next shot. We'll shoot this on chroma. We'll put it in afterwards. So like little compromises the whole day. It was really depressing. And I had a kind of a meltdown that day. And so when I went back, because I felt so out of control, and I went back to my hotel room, and they'd just given me a promotion. So I had my very first MacBook Pro. And so I opened it and I thought, you know what, I'll write a book, because if I write a book, I can kill people. I can do whatever the hell I want. I can rewrite it 50 billion times without missing deadlines. And so I started writing a book that night. And the Zoya Factor, which is very much a book about cricket and about advertising, which is what I was bang in the middle of that day. And the next day I went back on set, and Shah Rukh is so sweet, and he always, he notices things. So he came and said, you were damn stressed yesterday, and I know you were losing it about, lack of creative control, and what you're going to do about it. And I said, I'm going to write a book. And he was very supportive, and he said, of course you'll write a book, and we'll make a movie out of your book and stuff like that. So that also gave me a bit of a, impetus to keep going with it. So that's very specifically the story.
Nice.
I later went back to office, and I told my, my handlers, as we call the servicing people, the suits, that I wanted to write a book. And they were really nice. And they said, okay, here's 3 months paid leave. And no, I said, I want to quit. I will quit and write books. And they said, no, don't need to do that. Here's 3 months paid leave. Go away and write your book and then come back.
Anuja, this is such an exciting story, but I have to ask you, when you were starting Zoya Factor, writing a book, I know you were writing with advertising, but it's still a whole other skill. So did you find that you needed time to find what your writing voice, your narrative voice actually sounded like?
I think what happened is that I also read a lot. It was an army family. We had access to really good libraries. Even if my dad was posted in the back of Beyond, we had amazing books to read. And those days, everybody read a lot. So I'd read a lot. So I think more than just the advertising writing, the preparation is reading a lot. So I think if you want to write, you have to read. And there are some writers who you just admire, and there are some who you venerate, and they're like the greats. And then there's some writers who kind of like your friends, and you feel like I could write like this person, this is my kind of a thing, so you find those voices along the way, and you say, okay, I this is, if I wrote, I would write like something like this. So I felt that sense of recognition with two very different writers. One is Meg Cabot, who wrote The Princess Diaries. It's a series I love. And one is Vikram Seth, who wrote A Suitable Boy and, Golden Gate, which were also books I loved in a very different sort of way, but also really loved. And somewhere between those two, I thought, something here I could maybe attempt at doing. So that was the brief I gave myself at that point.
Anuja, I like how in hindsight you can obviously think of all of this. It all makes so much sense now, but I'm sure it was tough at that moment. I'm sure you must have thought about finances. You must have thought about kids at home. How did that conversation go in with yourself and with your folks?
Yeah, everybody was supportive. At that point, I didn't realize that I was doing something pretty risky, because I told absolutely everybody I'm writing a book. You know, Nowadays, I advise people, don't tell anyone, quietly write your book, because supposing you can't finish it, or supposing it's horrible, it's a dreadful fail, or whatever it is. So nowadays, I tell people, like, they talk about nazar, or how they tell you if you're pregnant, don't talk about till the first trimester's done. So at that point, I was telling even a person I met on the road, I was like, I'm writing a book, yeah, because I was like that. And that definitely kept me going, because I told everyone. So then I had to do it, right? And I don't know. I mean, I've never really been one to worry about what other people think. For me, it's never been log kya kahenge. It's usually bacche kya kahenge. Because my kids are very opinionated, and they have 50 things to say and all that. So luckily on this one, they liked what I was writing. They would come back from school and open my laptop and read what I'd written and say, slacker, what is this? Only 500 words today and all. And everybody at home was super supportive. So I am, I don't really bother with what people think. It's such a waste of time.
Did you have to cultivate a
Well
discipline
done.
though? Because you were working with a team every day at work. Now you're suddenly working alone. Being a writer is very, very isolated. What was that like?
No, actually, what happened, that first book, it was like a dam had burst. I had been writing 60-second, 30-second film opens on SRK with a bottle of Pepsi. I mean, I had been in that zone for so long. So just like getting out of that was it was intoxicating. People were asking me, Anuja, are you having an affair? You're glowing. What's up with you? Because I was just so unhappy. It was that first book. It just came out like Makhan is like later on, you struggle and stuff like that, But the first book was really easy. It was such fun to write. In fact, I overwrote. It is a bloated book. It is too fat. Someone should have edited it much more strenuously, I feel, but because I was enjoying it so much, I just kept going.
Yeah, yeah. Anuja, clearly the joy is still visible on your face and you're still glowing, even at that age, even with all that grey on your face. So kudos to you for all of it. Do you have a message for all those who are watching you right now and are perhaps or on the edge, perhaps wondering, should I just, let go of this job, go after what really makes me happy? Do you have any pearls of wisdom for them?
Well, I think that there's the kind of like a pandemic of overthinking, that young people seem to have nowadays. One is overthinking. The other thing is, I would advise you is that don't overthink, obviously. The other thing I would say is that pick something low risk. Like writing a novel is very low risk. I still had my job. I still had my kids. I wasn't working out on anything. I was just working a little harder, moonlighting at night, early in the morning, sneaking, okay, let's be honest, writing at work. But while getting that steady paycheck. So it was really low stakes, you know? So if you can, I would say that you must parallelly do these two things. Then you put much less pressure on yourself. And you can sort of keep that ball in the air as well, you know. So I would say that.
All right, Anuja, we leave it there. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Like we said, we love your work, whether it's advertising or not. And you were great at identifying what really made you happy. And I think that's the key over here, isn't it, Toya?
Yeah, and take low risk risks. I thought that was such interesting advice. Let's head over to our next guest. This is a person who had a successful career as a management consultant. He decided to follow his heart. He pursued his love for cooking instead, and today he's a culinary maestro of sorts. He's known for his elevation, his particular spin on coastal cuisine. Let's welcome Chef Sandeep Sridharan. He's with us right now, and he's actually joining us from Austria this morning. Let's just go over to him to understand more. Chef, hello, tell us about your journey. You were a management consultant first, we just told our audiences, but just walk us through what the last few years, all of that steering actually looked like.
A very good morning and greetings from the Austrian Alps. So I've been toying with this idea of doing something in the F&B space for a very, very long time. As far as I remember, I think I started cooking when I was 10 years old. And that's what my mom used to tell me. And I used to be like a pain all the time for her to make me do something or the other. But then I started to travel all over the world through my management consultant profession. And what I realized is how badly the South Indian cuisine, especially, is represented. Forget about the North Indian; that's another story altogether. So I started to work on it, and then one day I realized that I want to take the South Indian cuisine to the world, not just to India. So I started with this vision, and going further, I wanted to see that how well I will be able to do that, because as you know that it's an industry where it's very difficult to get in because you need to know the knowledge of the subject and things like that. So what I did is I decided to quit one day, and I become a private chef who wants to create experiences and very high-end experiences with South Indian cuisine, especially from the north of Kerala, the Mahi, the place I am from. So that is how I started this entire journey.
Nice, nice. So very contrasting to what Anuja had said. Yours is the one where one fine day you call it quit and you say, I'm going to pivot altogether. But tell me, a lot of people who now have gone into the culinary side, and after the pandemic, we've had so many of them. We hear of home chefs, we hear of, more culinary experiences, but we don't hear of such high sort of premium chefs in that state. So was that a thought? How did that come about?
So when I quit, I realized that I'm doing a niche area of food. It is actually not niche. It is something which people are not very used to. It's South Indian flavors. Everybody thinks that North Kerala or Kerala is all about parota and beef curry. It's not. And then I also realized that I love cooking vegetarian. And Bombay is full of vegetarian crowd who is willing to pay. So one day I called my friend, and I told all my friends, actually, I called and told them that from now on, if you want me to cook, I'm going to charge you. Okay. And one of my friend spoke to me and said, hey, you know what? I have my birthday coming, can you do the food for me? I said, I'll do a 9-course dinner for you, but it's going to cost you 4,500 rupees per person. And he said, are you going crazy? He said, nobody charges more than 2,500. I said, that's my price if you want to. So eventually he said, I'll pay you 3,500. I told him that 1,000 rupees is it's not a discount, but you got to pay me after the meal. So then we had a laugh, and I did the dinner, and he really liked it. And fortunately, he was a part of the International Fine Society of India. He recommended me to one person. Then I did the dinner for them. Then so it was a pure word of mouth. And I knew that if you want to be in that segment, it has to be word of mouth, you know.
So let me just tell our audiences, Chef, you made the switch over at the age of 45. When you were going about these initial dinners, we don't talk about this enough, so we wanted to ask you, any early failures that you had?
Every time when I do a dinner, I'll never ask who are the what is the guest list.
Okay.
Okay. I think I do it purposely because I just am there to do a good work, good food, and I'm not going to get carried away, or I'm not going to get biased or anything with the kind of guest list they have. So, but they actually gave me the guest list, and I, like, my jaw dropped, and it was the who's and who's of Bombay, and then I did the dinner, and I failed miserably. Miserably means everything went wrong. The food went cold. It went very late. And one of a very famous chef was there. He said, "You shouldn't have done such a complicated menu with a kitchen like this, because the kitchen doesn't support." And I said, "You know what? I had to do it, right?" And then I finished the dinner. It took, instead of 2 hours, 2.5 hours, it took like 3 hours 45 minutes or so. And I said, "I'm done. My career is done." So then I went and spoke to the crowd, and 4 people gave me their card, and they said, "What you did was something very interesting. We want to probably call you for a dinner." So of course, you know, I think I can still tell you, one of them was Harsh Goenka. I always tell this. And then I've done so many dinners. I think he's also
Wow.
responsible for a lot of people like to be out there and give them a chance. And so yeah, so that was one of that failure. I took it very personally and as a big learning. And trust me, after that, I never had a failure of that magnitude.
It still got you cards, so do you really want to call it a failure over there then? This perhaps a learning experience. But tell us this, that when we take massive decisions like these, pivots like these, that we want to quit our job, try something completely new, there are things to keep in mind, right? There are families, finances, parents, kids. How did you sort of manage that back end?
Yes, I think there has to be a balance between what you want to do and what you have to do. Okay, so what you have to do, yes, you have kids. At that time, I wasn't married, but I had a kid, and of course, you know, I know that I won't be able to do things for him for some time, for a time to come. So I don't think that has made me a bad parent, but I think right now I sit in front of him. He is so proud of what I've done. So I feel nice about it, you know. But I don't think everybody has got the that appetite to take that kind of risk. And I'm not saying yes or no to any of that, but I did it, and yeah, it worked to a large extent. It didn't work to a large extent, but that's what life is all about. So I'm not going to tell you that, you know, don't look after your kids and father, mother, whatever it is, go and do what you want, because sometimes at the end of the day, what you are the one who is responsible for your actions. You cannot wake up one day after 10 years and say that, oh my God, because of my kid, and I couldn't do this.
Yeah.
Chef, wise words. We're actually going to ask you something slightly different now, because you said you're in Austria. Why are you in Austria? Because you're working in India. You're largely based out of India. How come you're in Austria right now?
So yeah, I have started a new venture to recruit young talented chefs to Austria and Germany. So I do a lot of pop-ups in Europe right now. So I just finished a pop-up in Austria 3 days back, and I was cooking Kerala food.
How lovely.
Right, Chef, thank you for joining us. Thank you for bringing us all of that. And thank you to Anuja Chauhan, who joined us a little earlier. We've shown you two very big pivots, two different people made in separate sets of industries. We hope it's brought you a new lease of life in how you look at your own career decisions this morning. All right, with that, we're actually going to wrap the segment. We're going to head into a quick break.
All right, and if that has left you any inspired and you plan to pivot, leave us a comment. Certainly everybody's thinking about it. I am as well. But while you take that break and think about it, we'll give you a little bit of a tease on what's coming up next. Another ingenious idea on how now classrooms are actually getting wheels. If students can't reach them, well, the bus, this school bus, this educational classroom bus will reach them. All about that in a minute from now. Welcome back. Now, when we say the word bus, what comes to your mind? Now, kids must be thinking school bus, or in our days, it used to be the scholastic book bus. Adults are thinking DTDC, Best in Mumbai, or perhaps it is the food truck. But ever imagined a classroom inside a bus? When students can't make it to the classroom, this classroom on wheels reaches them. Equipped with computers and teachers, this ingenious idea by a telecom company is our focus on Person of Interest today.
Indus Towers is the world's largest telecom tower company, and they are making significant strides in promoting digital education and literacy. And the clincher here is it's in urban areas, it's in rural areas, and that it's open to absolutely anyone. Age is no bar, as you're going to see in just a minute. Our colleague Yash gets you this special report. Take a look.
Well, it's quite obvious that we are inside a bus, and normally we have seen these buses being used as a transportation vehicle. Some may transform into food trucks or use it as a utility vehicle. But this bus is very different, because this is not just a normal vehicle, this is a digital transformation van. In fact, this van is launched by the Indus Tower as part of their CSR initiative to educate people, to give them digital literacy. You can see the class is still underway over here at this very bus, which is being used by the company to actually to give out information, to give out knowledge to the kids who actually take part in these classes. Well, there is no bar of age, there is no bar of gender, there is no bar of a background. In fact, people from all walks of life come to this very van and take part in these courses. In fact, why it is also very transformational in a sense is that this not only caters to advanced courses, but as basic as just opening up a system and writing a basic email or writing something on the MS Word.
The van itself is a solar-powered vehicle equipped with 21 computers, printers, TVs and all the latest e-learning tools. There is also a dedicated facility from the NIIT Foundation that guides students as they complete a month-long course. We spoke to a beneficiary about his experience.
आपने कौन सा कोर्स किया था यहाँ पे और उसका क्या फायदा मिला आपको?
पहले मैंने कोर्स किया कि किस तरह से यूज किया जाता है, ये भी हाँ कंप्यूटर पे किस तरह से होता है। मेरे को मेरे मोबाइल से अटैच करके हिंदी में मेरे को समझाया गया, इस तरह से यूज होता है, इस तरह से ओपन होता है, इस तरह से बंद किया जाता है। उसके बाद में ये नॉलेज दिया जाता है कि आपको कौन सा सामान क्या से खरीदना है, तो मोबाइल से टच करो, ये कौन सी कंपनी है, क्या बनाता है, क्या आपको चाहिए और क्या हमारे को डिस्काउंट देता है, वो कौन सी कंपनी है, वो यूज करो। उसके बाद में हम उससे ऑनलाइन परचेस करते हैं, फिर वो सामान हमारे पास में आता है, फिर हम उनको पेटीएम से पेमेंट कर देते हैं। ये मेरे को बहुत नॉलेज मिला, इससे मेरे को इतना फ़ायदा है मैं उसको बयान नहीं कर सकता हूँ।
This van is of course in Delhi, but there are other vans in Dehradun, Bhopal and Surajpur. We spoke to Tejinder Kalra, the COO of Indus Tower, to understand what the organization's larger plans for this vehicle actually is.
Today we have already touched about 200,000 people, so that's a lot. And we are, through this program, what we are trying to do is take these initiatives to the people. And when we are launching it in circles, let's say today we have 4 of such, as I said, one in Delhi, which and the other one in Dehradun, the other one in Bhopal, and one in Surajpur, which is Chhattisgarh. The plan is not to take this van to one place and kind of put it there forever. We go deeper into the various districts when we are talking about to various states and try and see as many people as we can.
For now, this organization is doing its best to keep this initiative accessible to all groups. They have opened a focus course just for women.
यहाँ पर एक महिलाओं का बैच आयोजित किया गया, तो फिर मैंने यहाँ पर अगले दिन ही एडमिशन ले लिया और यहाँ पर मुझे बहुत अच्छे से सिखाया और उसके कुछ दिनों बाद जब मेरा प्रमोशन हुआ तो उसमें मुझे बहुत हेल्प मिली कि मैं MS वर्ड से जो है लीव एप्लीकेशन कर सकती हूँ और एक्सेल से मैं वज़न की एंट्री करती हूँ बच्चों की, और भी बाकी के सॉफ्टवेयर मेरे बहुत काम में आते हैं। तो मैं तो इंडस टावर और जो इतना बड़ा फंड देता है, शायद मैं पैसे दे के भी इतना अच्छा नहीं सीखती। यहाँ पर मुझे परिवार की तरह लगा और बहुत अच्छा लगा, और एक महीना कैसे बीत गया पता भी नहीं चला और बेसिक नॉलेज भी मिल गई।
As the digital transformation van bridges the digital gap in rural and urban areas across the country, it continues to empower thousands of people like Sharda and Prey. And today they can better navigate this world around them. With video journalist Pramod Kumar, this is Yash Goel for CNN News 18.
Isn't that an inspiring idea? Let's move on from now and bring you our wrap segment now, where we bring you stories from India and across the globe. Let's start with the United States. US President Joe Biden addressed the nation from the Oval Office of the White House, explaining why he withdrew from the presidential race. Biden said that his decision not to seek re-election was because he wants to pass the torch to a younger generation, as it is the best way to unite our nation.
I revere this office, but I love my country more. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. But in the defense of democracy, which is at stake, I think it's more important than any title. I draw strength and I find joy in working for the American people. I believe my record as president, my leadership in the world, my vision for America's future, all merited a second term. But nothing can come in the way of saving our democracy.
And let's take you to who is now the Democratic front-runner in the elections. Residents of Kamala Harris's ancestral village in Tamil Nadu held special prayers for her US presidential bid. This is following the US President Joe Biden's message. He has, remember, endorsed Harris. The village is known for its support during her vice presidential run. So they've done this before. We've seen slogans like this before. They're hopeful once again that their prayers will lead to her success.
Good news for Indian passport holders, as now we rank 82nd in the latest Henley Passport Index, allowing visa-free entry to 58 countries. The Singapore passport continues to be the most powerful one, with access to 195 countries. Germany, France, Italy, Japan and Spain tie for second place with access to 192 countries, and UK in the fourth, while US drops to the 8th place.
And in Japan, the famous Nara deers that bow their heads, they're seeing an increase due to tourism. Tourists are feeding them special treats. There is a fear of over-tourism, but the deers remain a major attraction in the ancient city.
King Charles III plans to convert 2 state Bentleys to run on biofuel as part of his sustainability efforts. This initiative, along with solar panels and sustainable aviation fuel, reflects the royal household's commitment to reducing carbon emissions.
And scientists actually found cocaine in sharks off the coast of Brazil, highlighting significant pollution from human drug use. The study shows the impact of drug contamination in marine environments. High levels of cocaine essentially detected in the sharks' tissues.
Ahead of the opening ceremony of the Palace 2024 Olympic Games, the International Olympic Committee announced that Nita Ambani, founder of Reliance Foundation, has been unanimously re-elected as the IOC member from India. The announcement was made at the 142nd IOC session currently taking place in Paris.
And let's Let's take you to the Olympics. Paris is all set to host the Olympics. Our social media feeds are littered with videos of athletes taking us behind the scenes, what the Olympic Village actually looks like. Now, the Olympic Games will run from tomorrow, so July 26th to August 11th. And some sports have already begun the official opening ceremony. That includes football, you have rugby sevens. These have started before the opening ceremonies have even taken place. Indian archers will be in action today, so keep an eye out for updates from Deepika Kumari, Ankita Bhagat, Tarundeep Rai. They'll all be in action in the women and men's individual ranking rounds.
Now, while many great moments were witnessed in the last edition, this year as well, many athletes will be hoping to win the ultimate gold medal for the country. We have a detailed report on what you need to know about this year's India's hopefuls at the Paris Games.
The City of Lights is all geared up to host the Summer Olympics this year, which starts tomorrow. Paris Olympics will feature 32 sports, including the 28 core Olympic sports, with the addition of breaking, skateboarding, surfing, and sports climbing. The Olympic Games will take place in 35 venues overall. While most of these venues are in or around Paris, a handful of games will take place in venues in other cities, including Lyon Stadium, where some football games will take place, and the Marseille Marina, where sailing events will be staged. Surfing will take place in French Polynesia's Tahiti, in a French overseas territory nearly 10,000 miles from the rest of the venues. A total of 10,500 athletes representing 206 countries are competing in this year's Olympic. Athletes will be competing for 329 gold medals across 32 sports. A total of 117 Indian athletes, comprising 70 males, 47 females, are set to compete at the Paris Summer Games across 16 sports disciplines. The contingent also includes 140 support staff and officials. Athletics has the largest representation from India, with 29 athletes, followed by shooting at 21 and hockey at 19. India will be hoping to better their tally than the previous Tokyo Olympics, where they won 7 medals, including a gold, 2 silvers and 4 bronze. All eyes will be on Neeraj Chopra, Mirabai Chanu, PV Sindhu and the Indian men's hockey team. The Golden Boy, Chopra, will want to add one more Olympic gold in Paris, while Sindhu will push to win her third individual Olympic medal, a historic first for India. Other than the Indian athletes, the big international stars will also be in action in this edition. Tennis star Rafael Nadal, gymnast Simone Biles, Chinese table tennis legend Ma Long, all of them will be eager to add more medals to their chest.
Okay, we're staying with the Olympic story right now for our next story. The inaugural India House at the Paris Olympics will celebrate cricket's inclusion in the Los Angeles 2028 Olympics with an exclusive panel discussion titled Cricket at the Olympics, Dawn of a New Era. All of us in India know we've been waiting for this moment for a while. The panel is scheduled for the evening of the 28th of July at India House.
India House to remember, which is the first of its kind, where we are getting a representation over there. It's been something conceptualized by the Reliance Foundation in association with the Indian Olympic Association. Over there, you're seeing glimpses of that on your screen of how it was set up. It does have a piece of India pretty much there with diya lighting, etc. that was done. The panel, like we were talking about inclusion of cricket, is going to be an interesting one to watch out for.
Okay, let's switch tracks now to something entirely different. We're taking you to the world of cars and bikes. Today in this segment, we're going to give you a detailed look at the India Spec 4th Gen Nissan X-Trail.
We check out its interiors, features, what should you do, what should you look out for. This is an overdrive review.
A new Nissan has become a bit of a rarity on our roads these days, but the company says that things are about to change. But what has us more excited is the car that's leading this. It's the Nissan X-Trail, which is back in India after a gap of over 10 years. So can it shake things up? Let's find out. The Nissan X-Trail has grown quite a bit since it was last here, which makes this SUV hold its own in a segment where size matters. That said, there are flashier, larger options still. Similarly, the X-Trail takes a more restrained approach with its details, but the large V-shaped grille and the wide tiered headlamps make their presence felt. You have some neat practical touches like the closing air dam covers and a good 210 mm of ground clearance. These go well with the simple shapes and the tall, functional glass area. Nissan has broken from the norm and fitted the X-Trail with large 20-inch wheels. These give the car a fuller look and a good stance. Now, one of the things that Nissan is talking about with the X-Trail is its practicality, but what you have is not a powered tailgate, which is something you expect in a car in this segment. But once you open the boot, you realize that even with all the 3 rows up, there's a decent amount of space here. You can put, say, a small backpack or 2 here. And yes, you can also fold these flat, and that's when you have a fairly usable boot space. Now, with these seats, you can't not choose them. They are always there in any version you pick. So yeah, you don't get a spare wheel, which we think will be a bit of an issue in India. But having said that, the load lip, as you can see, is flat. It's a flat floor, so big items. They're a bit of a lift, but once inside, they should be easy to fit. The styling here continues with that simple, unfussy theme with the mildly contoured bootlet and fairly catchy rear lights, although full LED setup is missing here. Now inside the X-Trail, you notice that it has that typical Japanese sort of simplicity and practicality, even in the way the interiors look. Now, yeah, the design itself is pretty simple and straightforward. It's nothing extraordinary, nothing flashy, over the top, nothing of that sort. But yeah, the colors and textures really do make a difference. In fact, I would say that they are quite a highlight of this car. Now that also continues with the stitching, and even on the doors, if you notice the wearing texture, for example, the fabric inserts here, or even the stitching here, or even this sort of brushed wood finish. So overall, it's quite an inviting space, even though the colors might not be all that bright. But again, what takes this experience a step further are the controls. For example, I'll just show you. Everything there's a physical control for. All the ACs have these big chunky knobs that you can use very easily without being distracted. Same for the touchscreen controls, big chunky buttons. This gear selector here, it feels really expensive to use with this electronic sort of action. And that also continues, as you'll see, with this nice damped action to the stalks and to these buttons on the steering wheel. The center console here has good space with its open lower section and the deep storage bin. You get both Type A and Type C charge ports as well as a wireless charger. Most controls here are well placed too. That being said, the door pockets could have been larger. In this context, the small 8-inch touchscreen feels out of place. It seems like the same unit that was used on the Kicks 5 years ago and feels like such in practice. The graphics have been updated and it is a generally competent system that's easy to learn with its physical controls, but the fluidity and responses leave much to be desired. In stark contrast to this is the 12.3-inch driver's display. This is easy to read and configure, information is easily accessed, and you have some uniquely detailed gauges for the engine that add a bit more to the experience. Now, given that practicality has been a big theme with this car, that also translates into the way the X-Trail drives, and it's apparent really as soon as you start driving. So what you notice is that the view out is good. The windows, they have this low sill, so there aren't too many blind spots. You can see the bonnet, the edges of it pretty clearly, and even the driving position, you sit high up like how you want to in an SUV. Everything falls to hand easily. These armrests, they just fit you perfectly. The seat is really quite supportive. The Nissan X-Trail, like before, brings with it a fresh execution of what a premium SUV can be like. The cabin is great in the first 2 rows, as much as the opinion might be split on how useful the third row is. The cabin's rich ambience, despite some notable feature lapses, is also a win for Nissan. The powertrain also seems more effective in the real world than on paper, but we hope Nissan gets its pricing right in a segment that has some strong established brands.
Okay, next we bring you a special section on financial markets powered by Money Control Pro, Money Control's premium destination for investing and business insights. Let's take a look at markets first. The Bombay Stock Exchange Sensex and Nifty 50 are likely to open weak. They're taking cues from GIFT Nifty. Asian markets too opened weak in early trade today. US equities snapped the rise in the last few days. This is as some big company results did not meet expectations. Crude oil showed weakness as demand from China is likely to be weak. Some commodity prices too are trending lower than usual.
Let's look at sectors now. In the banking sector, deposits are clearly the kingmaker now. The ability to garner deposits at the competitive rates has become a key differentiator. However, a new devil is lurking on the horizon, which is stress in small unsecured loans and even the MFIs. Now, is the Goldilocks period for the banking coming to an end? Well, log into Money Control Pro to find out more about FMCG sectors and various other actionable insights. On markets, it is a premium destination for all your investing views and financial insights you will ever need to know, brought to you by Money Control. All right, with that, it's a wrap on today's edition. How did you like the show? The conversations were clearly fascinating. Let us know your views. Send us your feedback. We'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye for now.
Goodbye.
Eat it on time.